Rain lashes the windshield like 1,000 glass needles. The night bends around the winding cliff road, headlights cutting brief wounds through the darkness. Lena's laughter fills the car. Brief, warm, fading into the storm. Michael's hand rests on hers, his thumb tracing small circles. Then the screech of tires, the impossible tilt, the flash of another car, and everything collapses. When Lena opens her eyes, the world is red and smoke-tinted. A man leans over her. Elias, his voice deep and shaking, his breath close enough to taste the salt and ash on it. "Stay with me," he says, pressing his hand to her chest to keep her breathing steady. Somewhere behind him, the car burns like a fallen star. She remembers only fragments. The smell of fuel, his trembling hands, the way his eyes refused to meet hers when she asked, "Where's Michael?" In that fractured instant, before the sirens and the lights, something inside her breaks, and something in him begins to unravel too. The world returns in fragments. Sterile light, the hum of machines, the taste of salt on her lips. Lena wakes in a hospital room, washed in pale dawn. Her left arm is bandaged. Her ribs ache with every breath. She blinks at the slow rhythm of the heart monitor, wondering if the beeping means she's still alive or just trapped between dreams. A nurse murmurs something soft, but it's the man in the doorway who catches her gaze. Elias. His face looks different without the storm, older, haunted, as if the rain never left him. He offers her a small, uncertain smile. "You're safe now," he says, voice low, heavy with something unspoken. Lena tries to speak Michael's name, but it dies on her tongue. The silence stretches until the nurse pulls the curtain halfway closed, leaving Elias in the half-light. "You pulled me out," she whispers. He nods. "You were the only one breathing." Her eyes glisten. His hands clench at his sides. In the hum of the machines, something binds them. Grief disguised as gratitude, and a shadow that neither dares to name. 3 days pass before he comes back. Lena counts the hours through the rhythm of painkillers and the whispers of nurses who think she's asleep. When Elias steps into the room again, he brings with him the scent of rain and burnt wood. He sets a bouquet of wildflowers on her bedside table, too bright against the antiseptic white. "You didn't have to come," she says softly, her voice still fragile. "I did," he answers. "You keep showing up in my head every night. They speak in half-truths, circling the memory of that burning road without touching it." He tells her about his volunteer work at the firehouse, how he's seen worse but never forgot her eyes opening in the rain. She tells him about painting, how she can hold a brush yet. When he leaves, she stares at the flowers. There's mud on their stems, the kind of mud that clings to the edge of a coastal road. She doesn't mention it. She just watches the door close, listening to the faint echo of his boots in the corridor. Like a heartbeat she's not sure she can trust. Dr. Sloan is the one who tells her. No gentle let-up, no soft words. Just the truth. Clean and sharp. Michael didn't make it. The room contracts around Lena like a fist. Her breath catches, her pulse pounds in her ears. She doesn't cry. Not yet. She stares at the window, where the reflection of the ocean ripples in the glass, and waits for something inside her to shatter. Elias arrives later that evening, unaware. He smiles faintly when he sees her sitting up. She turns to him slowly, her eyes distant, unfocused. "You were there," she whispers. "You saw him." His face tightens. Just a flicker, but enough. "I tried," he murmurs. It was already too late. The silence that follows feels like a grave. She closes her eyes, nods once, and for the first time he steps closer, daring to touch her hand. His fingers tremble against hers, and she feels it, the strange heat of guilt disguised as comfort. Outside, the wind rises again, whispering through the hospital vents like a memory that refuses to stay buried. Weeks later, she's allowed to leave. The hospital smells like rain again, and she wonders if the weather knows her story. Elias is the one waiting by the exit, holding her small bag. He offers a quiet nod. No words, just presence. In the car, they drive in silence past the cliffs where it happened. She doesn't look out the window, but she feels the curve of the road like a phantom limb. He finally speaks. "I think you should stay somewhere safe for a while." There's a cabin near the bay, quiet, private. His tone is careful, protective, almost pleading. She studies his face, the lines of exhaustion etched deep beneath his eyes. "Why are you doing this?" she asks. He glances at her, then back to the road. "Because I couldn't save him, but I can save you." The words land heavy, wrapped in the sound of waves crashing far below. She closes her eyes, not realizing that in trusting him, she's stepping deeper into the storm that never truly ended. The cabin stands at the edge of the world, a wooden scar against the roaring blue. Lena breathes the salt-thick air, her body still weak, her spirit half-stitched together by memory and morphine. The ocean stretches endless and cold, as if nothing human has ever touched it. Elias moves quietly beside her, lighting the hearth. "It's not much," he murmurs, "but it's safe." She looks at him, this man who pulled her from fire and now builds her a home from silence. The word, safe, lingers like smoke. Beautiful, but impossible. At night, she lies awake, listening to waves crash against stone, each one sounding like an echo of the crash. Through the thin wall, she hears Elias whisper her name in sleep, the syllables trembling. She closes her eyes and wonders if the storm outside has ever really stopped, or if it just moved inside them. Days melt into rhythm. The scrape of brushes, the crackle of firewood, the hush of an ocean that refuses to sleep. Elias brings her old paints from town, tubes worn and sticky with color. She sets up her easel by the window, the sea her only witness. He sits behind her, silent, pretending to read but never turning a page. "Does it help?" he asks. She keeps her eyes on the canvas, sometimes, but the sea keeps changing its mind. When the light fades, she shows him what she's made. A storm splitting open the horizon. He studies it for a long time, the fire's reflection trembling in his eyes. "You painted the night you almost died," he says softly. She shakes her head. "No. I painted the night you found me." He doesn't answer. The wind sighs against the window, and the smell of turpentine hangs between them like memory made tangible. That night the storm returns. The wind claws at the windows, the sea hurls itself against the cliffs as though trying to erase the land. Candles tremble on the table. Lena stands at the window, her reflection flickering in the glass, lightning stitching the horizon open. Elias enters, soaked to the bone, closing the door with a thud. "You shouldn't stand so close," he says. "I'm not afraid," she whispers. "Not anymore." He steps closer, the air between them charged, electric. "You almost died on a night like this. I remember," she murmurs, "but I can't remember your face that night." The words slice through him. His eyes darken, jaw tightening as thunder rolls through the walls. "You weren't supposed to," he mutters, before she can ask what he means. Lightning flashes, and the man before her looks like a stranger, carved from shadow and regret. Then the light fades, and his voice returns, calm and familiar. "You should rest," he says. She nods, but the truth already hums beneath her ribs. Morning light breaks slow and colorless. Lena explores the small study, its walls lined with weathered books and the faint scent of smoke. She opens a drawer, searching for paper, and finds something else. A photograph, edges curled, colors faded by time. Her breath stutters. It's the cliff road, moments before the crash. Her car visible, Michael's hand on the wheel. And in the distance, a black truck following too close. She doesn't need to see the license plate to know. The air drains from the room. Elias steps in behind her, his tone casual, too soft. Looking for something? She slides the photograph into her sleeve, turning to smile. Just exploring. He studies her face, his eyes careful, measuring. You look pale. I didn't sleep. He leaves without another word, the door closing like a whisper. She exhales, and the silence that follows feels heavier than any storm. That night, she paints again. But the sea is gone from her canvas. Instead, there are headlights, shattered glass, and a hand reaching through fire. Her brush moves like a confession, each stroke more violent than the last. Elias watches from the table, the light from the hearth flickering across his face. You've changed your style, he says. Maybe I'm remembering it right this time. He approaches slowly, as if afraid to touch the air around her. You can't live in that night forever. Maybe I never left. Her eyes meet his, calm, unwavering. He reaches for her hand. She lets him, though his touch burns. Above them, the wind moans through the eaves, carrying the sound of the sea like a secret neither can contain. Lena wakes before dawn, the air heavy with salt and secrets. She dreams of the crash again. Headlights slicing rain. Michael's voice swallowed by thunder. The other car's shadow too close to escape. But this time, the driver's face turns toward her, and it's Elias. She gasps awake, her pulse frantic, the dream clinging like seawater. She rises quietly, pacing the narrow hallway. Elias sleeps on the couch, his arm draped over his eyes, his breath uneven. The photograph burns in her mind like a flame she can't extinguish. She studies his face in the faint morning light, and for the first time she sees not a savior, but a man guarding something. When he stirs, she steps back into shadow. His eyes open slowly, and for a fleeting second she swears he knows she's been watching. The silence that passes between them feels heavier than confession, more dangerous than lies. Later that day, the world intrudes. A knock at the door. Soft but certain. Elias stiffens before answering, his voice low, cautious. On the porch stands a man in a dark coat, rain dripping from his hat brim. Detective Rowan Hale, she learns. His tone polite, but his eyes sharp. Just a few questions, he says. Routine follow-up on the accident report. Lena's fingers tighten around her mug. Elias's jaw flexes. The detective's gaze flicks between them, lingering on the way she flinches when Elias moves closer. You two live here now? Rowan asks. For a while, Elias replies quickly. The detective nods, steps back. Strange thing, though. The debris pattern suggests a second vehicle lost control that night. Maybe you remember seeing one. Lena opens her mouth, but Elias cuts in. It was dark. We were lucky anyone made it out. The detective smiles faintly, as though he's heard a practiced lie. Then he tips his hat and disappears into the mist. That night, when Elias goes to town for supplies, the cabin feels too quiet. The kind of silence that listens back. Lena searches. It begins with curiosity, but ends with shaking hands and a secret she wishes she hadn't found. Beneath a loose floorboard under his bed, she discovers a metal box. Inside, burnt photographs, a charred license plate, and a lighter engraved with the initials, EW. The smell of smoke clings to everything inside. Her heartbeat pounds in her throat. One of the photos shows Michael, smiling, unaware, his car parked by the Cliff Road days before the accident. Another shows a black truck. She hears a vehicle pull up outside and shoves the box back into place, heart racing. By the time Elias steps through the door, her hands are steady again, but her eyes are no longer the same. He kisses her forehead. She smiles, and it feels like lying to both of them. Dinner is quiet, too quiet. Elias's voice carries a calm that feels rehearsed, his every movement measured. Lena stirs her soup, watching the firelight twist in his eyes. Every word he says sounds like a test. You've been quiet, he says finally. Just tired, she answers. From what? Remembering. His hand tightens around his glass. It's not good to live in the past. I'm not living there, she whispers. I'm just realizing I never left it. The air between them cracks, sharp as lightning. His eyes flick to hers, then away. He forces a small smile, reaches for her hand. You trust me, don't you? She nods. It's the only lie that doesn't tremble. Later, when he steps outside to smoke, she watches him through the window. The lighter's flame flickering against his face, the same flame that might have lit the fire that ended everything. The next morning, she visits town under the pretense of buying paint. The shopkeeper, an old woman with weathered hands, recognizes her from the news. You were the girl from the crash, she says softly. That firefighter saved your life, didn't he? Lena nods, forcing a smile. The woman frowns. Funny thing, that same man pulled another car from that cliff months earlier. Same stretch of road. Driver didn't make it. The world tilts. Lena's pulse roars in her ears. She thanks the woman and walks out into the drizzle, the paint cans heavy in her hands. Back at the cabin, Elias waits by the fire, his smile too bright, his eyes too still. You were gone longer than I expected, he says. There was traffic, she lies. He nods slowly. For a moment, the air tastes of smoke again, and the sea, endless and cruel, beats against the cliffs like a warning. She finally understands. The storm returns the next night as though summoned by memory itself. The wind howls through the eaves, the walls trembling in rhythm with Lena's heartbeat. She stands outside on the porch, rain searing her face, staring into the dark sea. Elias appears behind her, barefoot, his voice swallowed by the wind. You shouldn't be out here. She doesn't move. Tell me about the other car, she says softly. He freezes. The silence stretches, then breaks with a breath. You don't want the truth. I do. He steps closer, rain running down his face, eyes glinting like the storm itself. It wasn't supposed to happen. I followed him that night. Your fiancé. I needed to stop him. He was going to destroy everything. The words hang in the air like lightning. Lena trembles, not from cold, but from knowing. You killed him? His answer is barely a whisper. I saved you. And the rain keeps falling as if trying to wash them both clean, but nothing can. Inside, the fire burns wild, heat colliding with the chill still clinging to their skin. Lena sits on the floor, her back against the wall, hands trembling. Elias paces before her, his voice breaking between regret and justification. I tried to save him, but he wouldn't stop the car. Her eyes lift slowly. You chased him off the road. I was trying to stop him from going public. About what? He stops moving. The silence is a wound. He knew about the warehouse fire, the one that wasn't an accident. I was there. The truth settles like smoke. Lena's throat tightens, her body shaking with fury and disbelief. You burned everything, didn't you? His voice lowers. I was trying to make it right. The words echo as the fire snaps, scattering sparks like broken promises. She sees it now. The man who saved her didn't come from mercy, but from guilt that still smelled of gasoline. That night, Lena doesn't sleep. She waits until Elias's footsteps fade into another room, then moves silently through the house. She gathers her sketches, the photograph, her phone, and the lighter she once saw him use. Her body trembles, but her mind is clear. Outside, the storm has softened into a mist. The world feels temporarily merciful. She slips into his truck, her breath fogging the windshield, hands fumbling for the keys, but they're not there. The cabin door opens. Elias's silhouette appears in the doorway, motionless, going somewhere. Her pulse spikes. I can't stay here anymore. He steps forward, voice low. You're not ready to face what's out there. I'm ready to face what's in here. For a long moment, neither moves. Then he reaches into his pocket, and tosses her the keys. "Go, then, but if you leave now, you'll never understand why I did it." Her hand closes around the metal. "I already do." She drives through the mist until the road bends toward the cliffs, the same curve where everything ended and began. The sea below roars in mourning. Headlights slice the dark, and for a moment, she feels the old terror rise again. She stops the truck near the guardrail, steps out into the wind. The crash site still bears its scars. A twisted railing, charred earth, wildflowers forcing their way through cracks. She kneels and touches the soil, damp and cold, and the memory rushes back in perfect, merciless detail. In the distance, she hears another engine, Elias's. He's followed her. His headlights crest the hill like an omen. Lena rises, heart steady now. The truth has nowhere left to hide. When he steps out, she doesn't speak. The sea roars between them, the wind tearing their voices away before they can begin again. He walks toward her, voice breaking under the wind. "You have to believe me. I didn't mean to hurt anyone." Lena doesn't move. "You followed us. You caused it. I tried to stop him." "You stopped his heart." He falters, eyes filling with something close to grief. "I couldn't live with it. So I saved you. You were the only part that wasn't ruined." The truth hits her harder than the crash ever did. She steps back toward the cliff, the sea's breath cold against her neck. "You didn't save me, Elias. You just kept me." For a long second, they stand in the rain, two broken souls tethered by tragedy. Then, Elias takes a step forward, and the ground beneath him gives way. Lena screams his name, but the wind devours. When she looks down, all she sees is gray surf and white foam swallowing him whole. The storm quiets, but inside her, everything still burns. The storm has passed, leaving the world washed raw. The sea lies calm now, cruelly indifferent, its surface silver and endless. Lena stands alone at the cliff's edge, soaked to the bone, staring down where Elias vanished. The ocean gives nothing back. No sound, no sign, no mercy. Her body shakes, not from cold, but from release. For the first time in months, she can breathe without hearing his voice. Yet the silence feels heavier than before, as though the world mourns something unspoken. She whispers into the wind, "You wanted to save me, Elias. Maybe you did." The horizon does not answer. Only the gulls cry, harsh, distant, unfeeling. She turns away at last, the cliffs dissolving into mist behind her, and begins the long walk toward the road that once ended her life, but now might begin it again. 2 weeks later, the police find what's left of Elias's truck at the base of the cliff. His body never surfaces. Detective Rowan Hale returns to the case, visiting Lena's small apartment in town. His eyes, once sharp, now soften with quiet sympathy. "We've closed it," he tells her. Ruled as an accident, she nods slowly, her voice steady. "It wasn't. I know," he says after a pause. "But sometimes the truth only ruins the living." He hands her an envelope. Elias's belongings recovered from the wreckage. Inside, she finds the silver lighter and a folded photograph. Her, standing at her art show years ago, smiling. On the back, in shaky handwriting, "You were never supposed to be there that night." When the detective leaves, she sits alone in the quiet room, the photograph trembling in her hands. The air feels thick, as though the sea has followed her inland, still whispering his name. Weeks pass in silence. Lena paints again. Not the sea, not the storm, but faces. Michael's, Elias, her own. Each one fractured, half in light, half in shadow. She paints until her hands ache, until the colors blur into something unrecognizable. At night, she leaves the windows open, letting the wind carry the scent of salt and rain into her studio. Sometimes she swears she hears his voice beneath the hum of the ocean. Not accusing, not pleading, just existing. Her therapist, Dr. Sloan, visits one evening. "You're painting ghosts," she says gently. "They were always here," Lena replies. Dr. Sloan studies the canvas. "And what about you? Where are you in all of this?" Lena looks at the half-finished portrait, her reflection staring back through strokes of blue and ash. "I'm still deciding." Spring arrives quiet and unassuming. The cliffs bloom again, wildflowers reclaiming what tragedy left behind. Lena returns there alone, carrying a small box filled with ashes, not Elias's, but remnants of her old life. Photographs, sketches, the burned edges of her wedding invitation. She kneels at the cliff's edge, wind threading through her hair, and opens the box. One by one, she lets the ashes fall, watching them scatter across the sea like fragments of an old story, finally allowed to end. For a moment, she imagines Elias beside her, calm, smiling, unburdened. "You saved me," she whispers to the wind, "but not the way you thought." Then she turns away, walking toward the sunlight breaking through the clouds, her shadow long but no longer heavy. Months later, Lena's first new exhibition opens in a small coastal gallery. The paintings are different now, quieter, softer, filled with empty skies and gentle seas. People linger, whispering about the woman who turned tragedy into art. She stands near the back, hands clasped, watching strangers find meaning in what nearly destroyed her. In one corner, a single painting stands apart, a stormy road under moonlight, the faint outline of a figure standing in the rain. Its title, "The Man Who Saved Me." A visitor pauses beside her. "Is it about someone real?" they ask. Lena smiles faintly. "Yes," she says, "but he's gone now." When the lights dim and the gallery quiets, she steps outside. The sea waits beyond the boardwalk, calm and forgiving. She breathes deep, the salt air filling her lungs, and for the first time she feels truly alive. The nights are the hardest. The world outside her window is calm, but the sound of the ocean never sleeps. It whispers. Sometimes, between the waves, Lena hears his voice, faint, broken, calling her name. She tells herself it's memory, the way grief rewrites silence. But when she steps outside, the air changes. The wind feels heavier, colder. Down by the shore, she finds footprints in the sand that aren't hers, leading into the surf and stopping where the tide begins. Her chest tightens, the sea glimmering under the moon like a secret waiting to be spoken. She kneels, touches the water, and whispers back, "You can't still be here." A wave rushes forward, soaking her hand. For a moment, she swears she feels another hand beneath it. Warm, human. Then it's gone, and only her reflection remains, fractured by the tide. A week later, Lena wakes to find one of her paintings changed. The one titled "The Man Who Saved Me." She swears she left it untouched, yet now the brushwork seems different. The rain darker, the figure sharper, closer. She touches the canvas, her pulse quickening. The paint is still damp. Someone has been here. The gallery owner, kind and practical, insists it's her imagination. Grief lingers, he says, but Lena can't shake the feeling of being watched. At night, she locks her door and listens. The creak of floorboards, the whisper of waves. Sometimes faintly, the sound of a lighter clicking open, then closed. She starts painting again, unable to stop. Every canvas becomes a storm, every shadow his shape. Each color she mixes feels like a memory she can't kill. She buried it. She knows she did. In the box with the ashes beneath the cliff where the wind always sings. But tonight, the lighter lies on her windowsill, polished, cold. The engraved letters EW catching the moonlight. Lena's breath trembles. She doesn't scream. She just sits, staring at it. The room silent except for the sound of her heartbeat. Slowly, she picks it up. The metal feels warm. She flicks it open. Flame bursts alive. The same flame that once destroyed everything, now lighting her trembling face. The whisper returns. "I never left you." Her body freezes. The flame gutters, dies. She looks around. Empty room. Stillness, absolute. But outside, the ocean crashes louder, as if applauding some dark reunion. The gallery's bathroom mirror fogs as Lena washes her hands, but when she looks up, she's not alone. Behind her reflection stands a figure, faint, blurred, but unmistakable. Elias, his eyes sorrowful, his mouth forming her name. She spins around. Nothing. Just the slow drip of water and the hum of fluorescent light. Her pulse shakes her body. She stares back into the mirror, and though the figure's gone, the fog on the glass now bears 5 streaks. The outline of a hand dragged downward. She backs away, heart pounding. "You're dead," she whispers to the empty room. But somewhere between glass and memory, a voice answers softly. "So were you." When she flees the gallery, the night air feels alive, the streetlights bending in the rain, every reflection glancing back with his eye. Days blur. Lena Paint sleeps little and wanders the shore every evening. She feels him there, not as a ghost, but as a pull in her chest, a gravity too strong to escape. She's both terrified and comforted by it. One dusk, she stands by the tide, watching waves dissolve around her ankles. "If you're still here," she whispers, "then what am I supposed to do?" A gust of wind sweeps through, carrying salt and warmth. For the briefest moment, she feels his hand brush hers, invisible, certain. She closes her eyes. The sea hums with memory, soft, rhythmic, alive. When she opens them again, the horizon glows gold with sunset. The wind softens. The sea is quiet. And for the first time, she doesn't cry. She just listens. Not for him, but for herself. Morning light bleeds across the horizon, soft and forgiving. Lena walks the shore, the tide licking her boots. The world feels lighter now. The storm finally gone, until she spots something caught between the rocks. A sealed glass bottle, sun-worn and barnacled. Inside, a folded page. She breaks the seal, hands trembling as she unfolds the damp letter. The handwriting is rough, uneven, familiar. "Elias, if you ever find this, it means I finally let the ocean take what it always owned. I never meant to hurt you, Lena. I just wanted to undo what I broke." Her tears fall before she can stop them. The wind steals the page from her hands, carrying it toward the water. She doesn't chase it. She just watches it drift away, the last confession she'll ever need, disappearing into the place where all stories end. Weeks later, Lena drives the cliff road for the first time since the crash. The same curve, the same whisper of tires against wet asphalt, but now it's quiet. No headlights chasing her. No shadows lurking behind the rain. She parks at the overlook and steps out. The guardrail has been replaced, clean and strong. Beneath it, wildflowers bloom where fire once burned. She touches the cool metal, closing her eyes. For a long while, she says nothing. Then, softly, "We all break something, don't we? And sometimes the only way to live is to let it stay broken." The ocean answers with a single gust of wind, brushing hair across her face. For the first time, it doesn't feel like a warning, only a reminder that she's still here, still breathing. Her gallery reopens with a new series, Echoes of the Sea. The paintings are quieter now. Waves, horizons, soft silhouettes fading into mist. People linger longer, drawn by the stillness. One evening, just before closing, she notices a man standing alone before the last canvas. He's tall, his posture familiar, head slightly tilted the way Elias used to look at her art. Her breath catches. When he turns, it's not him. Just a stranger with kind eyes. Still, her pulse stumbles. She smiles. He nods, murmuring, "You paint like someone who's forgiven the storm." "Maybe," she replies, voice soft. "Or maybe I just learned to love the silence after it." When he leaves, she looks at the empty space he occupied and realizes she's no longer haunted. She's just remembering. Detective Rowan Hale visits one afternoon. No longer in uniform, just a man carrying unfinished sympathy. He sits across from her at a cafe, overlooking the water, the smell of coffee and salt merging in the air. "I read the reports again," he says. "You were right. He followed your car that night. It wasn't chance." She nods, stirring her drink. "I already knew." "Then why didn't you tell anyone?" "Because some stories don't need punishment. They just need to end." Rowan studies her, the sea reflected in his tired eyes. "You think he loved you?" Lena smiles faintly. "He did, in his way, and maybe that's why he saved me, to give me a life he couldn't live." The detective leaves quietly, tipping his hat as though closing a case that was never really his to solve. Evening. The horizon blushes gold, the ocean breathing slow and steady. Lena walks the same beach where she once heard his voice. This time, there's only the sound of wind and her own footsteps. She stops near the surf, watching the tide crawl forward and retreat. Every wave feels like a heartbeat. Every ripple a reminder that time keeps moving. Even when love stops, she closes her eyes, whispering, "Goodbye, Elias." The words carry easily, merging with the sea. She doesn't wait for an answer. Some stories don't echo back, they dissolve. As the sun dips below the horizon, she smiles. The sea is calm, the wind soft, the sky wide and endless. She's not a survivor anymore. She's a woman who lived.